Hello, everybody. I am welcoming you to the second of the year international webinar. Today we have interesting topics, and the main aspect is secure governance and implementation of AI. This webinar is for our Baltic and Malta's customers. But we see that there are also some other joiners as well. So we are very happy. It is actually the second time we are speaking about this topic. Before we have a really crowded on-site event, and seeing the numbers joining today, we see that this is important topic. First, everybody wanted to implement. Now I'm happy that thinking also about cybersecurity. Speaking about today's agenda, we have today two wise speakers who will speak about two topics. One will be Microsoft 365 Copilot and agents platform security and compliance. And another will be AI cybersecurity, governance, risk, and real impact. Before we move further, a little bit about us. So we are a company who are operating for more than 25 years, starting in Riga, Latvia, afterwards through Baltics, working with our partners throughout Europe. Our experts are certified in specific areas they are working. Either it is Microsoft or cybersecurity environment. And a little bit about our services. They are divided in 5 main pillars. First is licensing. So soon, I know a lot of renewals are happening before Microsoft year end. This is actual for one group. Then there are IT infrastructure services, where we help our customers wherever you are, on-prem, hybrid, or cloud. We will consult you, secure you, what is your need, tell us, and we are here to help you. Then the third and important topic and close to my heart is cybersecurity, starting from simple trainings for your employees, what to do, what not to, where to click, and not till complicated red team testings or audits like NIS2 or others. And to other services where we support our customers are AI and Copilot adoptions, where we mostly concentrate on Microsoft stack, and also understanding for customers, is it the right tool at this stage, till some niche updates so it would help your business and organizations to work properly. And last but not least is data and analytics related to Power BI and Fabric. But now our next first speaker, who said that I should not, before introducing him to stage, say that he is the best one, but Andris, aka Andrew, please come to the stage, and we are ready for your presentation.
Thank you, Ivars. Let's start today with a simple idea, what I want you to think about it, that AI is already adoption of AI is already happening in organizations, and our security team are tasked to make it secure, but constantly we see that they are lagging back or doing these security implementations around Microsoft 365 Copilot or AI tools, at their idea, not helping business to adopt these tools faster and more mature. So if I talk, let's start by introducing myself. So my name is Andris, and I work with data security and Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft Purview tools for last couple of years. And I think that this is an area that are very interesting for most organizations. And like I see that there is a great potential of making these data security and AI adoption really useful for every organization, because these things are really related in my point of view, and everyone should think about that. Today, my agenda is about Microsoft Copilot and what I understand by this safe adoption, what is these data security risks that is related to Copilot, not only like risks that maybe is related to security, but also governance, also oversharing of information, because this, as you understand, that AI without data is basically nothing. So later I will talk about the framework of how we safely enable and roll out Copilot within different organizations. Then I show what Microsoft offers with this new Agent 365 functionality and what is now available in Microsoft portals. And in the end, I will give you some takeaways and recommendations where you can start right now in your organizations. So yeah, but let's start about these challenges that we all see and what are related to this AI. So first of all, we see that agent sprawl is things that is really happening. You constantly, if you give these tools to users, they are starting to creating these agents, and agents have accesses to data. Users share these agents between like colleagues, and they also use these agents, and like these agents are accessing different kind of resources and generating their answers. But like the question is, do we know actually what are these agents doing and how many of them we have? So now, of course, still these data oversharing and data risks are also the things that is very closely related to AI, because like agents and AI doesn't create new permissions. It just use what we already have for users. And if these permissions are not precisely what is necessary, agents can access and summarize information and provide answers to the things that we would like to for users to know. And like if from one perspective, if it's just like something that user we didn't want our users to know about inside of company, but other thing is that this old historical data that we have, it has been shared, and like years ago, it's still available for users, but nobody actually uses it anymore. But AI is still using this data to give some answers to users based on their requests or prompts, and these answers may be incorrect and even wrong. And like this is because that this historical information is still available, and nobody has spent time of doing some cleanup things. Of course, we see that with agents and with AI, like users are using them, not only the tools that we are giving them, like for example, this Copilot that Microsoft has, but like they have their own tools, and most of them like is a public models that is being used. So these are the like points that the company information are being put, maybe some personal data and secrets that we would like also to be like kept within company, and all this needs to be governed. And like before we actually govern it, the simple question is: do you actually currently know where to look to find like what AI tools are used in your organization, what data they are summarizing, what data they are accessing, and where this data is later put. And of course, the big point here also, if we talk about AI challenges, is these different regulations that we need to be aware of, we need to comply. Simple things are that we all maybe already know is about GDPR and how we handle personal data in this AI world. But we also have the EU AI Act, which my colleague Valters will tell you in his presentation, and all these regulatory things that we need to be aware of and need to comply if we want to safely adopt AI tools. Yeah, so if I continue, so the next things that of course is talk about that additional risks that I already mentioned, that of course this oversharing and data access is a thing that it first comes to everyone's mind, and if a user publishes these agents in default environments that we have a production functionality, but we don't have any production data security for those agents. So you can have situations that agents can read any information they have access to and do these summaries of your prompts, and that's how have these data leak to and maybe where it's not necessary. And of course, if we talk about agents, it's not just this oversharing and over access, but do you actually know how many of those agents are already present in your tenants? Because if you don't have a visibility, you don't have any push to the action, and by default, if we talk about where these agents are actually living in your environment, so we have this Microsoft Power Platform environments, and by default there are no DLP policies, no auditing, and that means that we don't actually see what is inside of those in our environment, what agents are really doing. And of course, Microsoft comes with additional surprises from time to time. And one thing that I want to mention is these two settings that I would ask you to, in the end of presentation, go and verify in your environments. So we have this flex routing, which really means that if Microsoft sees that these Copilot data centers in Europe are too overloaded, it can send your prompts to outside the EU in different regions, in different data centers, and then process in these data centers which are outside the EU. And if we strictly follow this data boundary for European Union, you should disable this functionality right away. Also about auditing and compliance, but I mentioned previously, so if you don't have audit logs, for example, for this Power Platform, they are not enabled by default, so actually don't have any visibility right away what is happening there. And also, if you want to collect some evidence, I would mention here this Microsoft Purview as a platform, which is not only for data governance, but also for collecting these signals from different sources and providing you with evidences of what is happening within these different AI tools. And you should go and check and see what they are already collecting. And if it's not enabled, I would suggest you to configure these built-in policies and start collecting information about AI-related activities. So you next time when somebody comes and asks who has access to this data or what like a specific user discussed with an agent or with a copilot, then you have at least some answers to provide. One thing more that I wanted to show you here is about these threats that were like we thought we can handle already because of this AI adoption. So we know that if a user is just talking with this copilot, it's just a proactive way of these discussions. So basically, you give it a prompt, it access some internal information or what the information user have access to, and provides an answer. And you could detect with Microsoft Purview, with sensitivity labels, with these sensitive data types of what kind of information was summarized, what answers were given, and so you could have some control because it was just a case by case, so user interaction, and these risks were very good covered from Microsoft perspective, so you could use existing tools and help with this mitigation of those risks. Of course, we have these data AI applications where you can also, and you needed to think about these prompt injections. So somebody could send a prompt to your agent that was embedded in an email. Agent can read this prompt and can give your prompt and override this default agent prompt, and then you can just have some different behavior for agents that wasn't expected from the beginning. This third level about this training data and model theft wasn't really a thing that if you are not working with this particular new training sets for your own and designing your own models, but still it has a big impact on security or whole organization. And now, so as I mentioned, that these agents are not prompt-based reactive things that you can just ask and they will give you some answers back. But agents are a workforce that has never stopped working. So they are have these functionalities that they are working constantly, and then the problem is that not what kind of data they can access, but also how fast they do this, and what you can do if you see that something is not as intended in these agent-related activities. So, as I mentioned, these agents are basically prompts that you are giving to these AI tools that can be executed based on some input, and if it's an input coming from public environment, so I can, for example, embed my prompt into email or into some purchase order and make agent do some things that it wasn't intended from the beginning. Also, these agents can use different tools that are available, and the question is, do we actually know what these tools are doing, how agents they are using those tools, and doesn't it has any intent from external world how to break these functionalities. Of course, memory and context poisoning is also a thing because agents remembers all these previous activities, and we can try to squeeze some information that are important for these attackers, not just what agents are doing. So quite hard to spot them at the beginning. And of course, about these oversharing risks that I still want to mention, that I see that a lot of organizations doesn't actually care about like this access to what information they are having. So does the user like what still needs access to any kind of documents that were created a long time ago, and like if it wasn't like a problem now because we just simply don't use this information if we don't remember for them, but agents now can all access, like as I mentioned, everything that user has access to, and the problem here is that like they can generate these answers that are irrelevant or even incorrect, and this means that you need to spend time on understanding why these answers are incorrect. Users need to spend time on verifying those answers, and it comes like as a result of just incorrect permissions to information, having too much historical data available to agents, and this all makes these answers like could make them out of date and irrelevant, and it is very important as from my perspective to not like just create agents, but also do this initial data cleanup of environments that you already are using. And so what Microsoft has like available for these to mitigate those risks is this new Agents 365 functionality, which is like a like control plane and have this show you what agents you are already have. So it is like a tool that can help you to govern these agents, like not just like see what agents you have, but also enforce some policies onto these agents. So what data can they access, like risk levels, also classified agents. You can also do these lifecycle managements to see who is the owner of each agent. You can block like certain activities for agents, and or even like block agents if you see that they are like having too much risk embedded into them. And the thing here that everyone misses is that where these agents actually live, and this is like this Microsoft Power Platform, and where you can see these agents as a flows in different environments, and like basically like everyone has just this default environment which was like pre-configured from Microsoft point of view just when this Power Platform service was enabled, and it like what I see don't have any DLP policies. So basically agents can run and users can create agents that can run on any data sources, like have access to third-party tools. And as I have had an example, so technically a user can create an agent who is summarizing his emails during his vacation and posting like results of these emails as a summary on his Twitter feed. And like if you don't have any DLP policies, it is available by design. It doesn't have any restrictions of what on these connectors, and like it is because of this Power Platform is designed of such a way. And like about this governance, as I mentioned, that well, Valters told you that we still need to govern agents because they are accessing sensitive information, and you need to have logs and information of who is using these agents, what data was summarized, and to be compliant with these different regulations and be like capable of answering of these simple questions: who has access to what data, and what is the reason for that. Yeah. So next thing that I want to mention here about is about that this like governance of AI agents and AI within organization is not just a task for security or IT team. I see that there are like a different teams needs to come together as a unified team and create like policies, create like security controls, decide on who to will respond to incidents, and for all of this, like Microsoft has built like these AI and agent capabilities into their native tools that they're using now. So you can configure like these conditional access policies for agents within Entra portal. You can still configure like DLP policies for Copilot within Microsoft Purview, and you have these threat detections also available for agents in Microsoft Defender. So that's why I say that this is like a teamwork that needs to be done like all together, not just push it on IT team who already have this task to deal with daily like operations and issues and security issues that they are doing right now. And next, I want to show you some Microsoft portals, and I want you to go and check within your portal. So what you see here is this new Agent 365 portal where you can see what agents you have, what agents like have owners, and how much this AI adoption and agent adoption is happening within your organization right now. Next thing I want to mention is this Microsoft Purview AI portal, where you can also see agents, like how many of them you have, how many risks you have with agents, so what are these sensitive interactions happening within each agent, so you have this visibility. And you can go even that deep that you can see not only like what is happening within Microsoft tenant, but have these signals also from users, like from workstations, where you can see what like third-party AI tools are being used in your organization. So what kind of prompts are put there. So you have this visibility not only within Microsoft ecosystem, but also it could be extended outside, and you have this Purview as a tool that collects and shows these signals from all of these places. Next thing is about this Microsoft Power Platform. As I mentioned here, that it is like a place where these agents actually live within Microsoft tenant. So you can see these recommendations here. You can create DLP policies and threat policies for agents, and it will like impact of both how users can use these agents, so what kind of users can create them, share to whom, and also what data and connectors can these agents can access, and have also recommendations about how to improve the security posture of your agent environment. Next thing is about Microsoft Defender new capabilities, and as I mentioned, that we need these agents are working proactively. The activities are based on some prompts, and it is technically possible just if an agent reads an email to embed your own prompt into that email that agent can read. It can override its default code and execute some instructions that you provided from your own outside world. And to detect this, like we need these capabilities to monitor these activities constantly, try to find like these signals, and if we find it, we can automatically either block it, raise incidents, and investigate, like in this threat portal that Microsoft already has, and now it's also extended with this agent capabilities, so have everything still in one place. One of the next slides talks about this framework that I usually use to actually enable this Copilot within organization, like in a controlled way. And it, like from my perspective, these are like 4 steps that everyone should follow. And it all starts with this permission audit. It starts with understanding what sensitive data you have, where it actually is in organization, what kind of data you need to protect based on regulations. So you have this picture of the risk and assessment of an understanding of what is like currently happening in your organization, and then you can move on with these configuration steps of trying to resolve those things that are irrelevant to you, that needs to be like protected right away. So as an example, I said, so you should create environments in Power Platform that are specifically for use cases. You should have intergroups to manage like AI, to manage like access to agents, DOP policies in place, so you can only allow like these agents to access like data that you know about. And this is like this configuration step, and now then you deploy it in some pilot groups. You verify your visibility, verify that it doesn't block like business activities, check this purview activity logs that you see these activities, do user training and raise awareness of agent risks and why users should think that these agents are what they can do, and that these answers are maybe not 100% true all the time. And like this deployment, if on the pilot group, if it succeeds, you can extend it to the rest of your organization. And of course, as like data security, also these AI controls are not things that are just one-time set and forget. You need to constantly monitor logs. You need to do these access reviews. You need to do inventory of agents from time to time to actually catch up with the changes. And like my last slide is about the things that you can take with you and go and check in your environment after my presentation. So as I mentioned somewhere in the beginning, is about this flex routing and different models that Microsoft is now adding to tenant capabilities, and check like if these settings are enabled, and if yes, and you need to be compliant with EU regulations and data boundary, I would suggest to disable them. The next thing, just what I mentioned, is go and actually check a count of agents that you already have. I can guarantee you will have a lot of surprises there. Audit logging, like as I mentioned, is not enabled in Power Platform environments by default. So I would suggest you to go and enable it to have this visibility and evidence of what is happening within agents. And by that, I would conclude my talk and give word to my colleague Valters, who will tell you about governance and risks that is related to security. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Valters. I'm a cybersecurity team lead in Squalio. I've been in the cybersecurity field for around 8 years. I worked in a lot of projects regarding security audits, compliance audits, ISO 27001 audits, and IS2 audits, DORA audits. perform vulnerability assessments, social engineering, and training for employees. And one of the main services that we do is virtual CISO for our customers. And today I will speak about how we help customers understand how to govern AI and how we use AI in our everyday work ourselves. So today you have heard from Andris about artificial intelligence, Microsoft Copilot agents, automation, and how to secure implement these AIs. In my presentation, I would like to look at this topic from a slightly different perspective, from the perspective of a CISO or Chief Information Security Officer. For security leaders, artificial intelligence is no longer a future topic. It is something that organizations will start thinking about in 1 or 2 years. AI is already inside the organizations. Sometimes it is introduced formally, for example, through Microsoft Copilot, AI features in security tools, automation platforms, analytic solutions, or approved business use cases. But very often, AI also appears informally. Employees use public AIs, AI tools to write emails, summarize documents, analyze spreadsheets, generate code, or prepare presentations. Vendors embed AI into their SaaS platforms that organizations already use. Business teams expect faster results. And in many cases, governance tries to catch up only after AI usage has already started. So the real question is no longer should we use AI. The decision has already been made, formally or informally. The real question is, are we introducing AI in a controlled way, or are we only discovering later where and how it is already being used? This is why AI in cybersecurity is no longer a technology topic. It is a governance topic. It is a risk management topic, and it is also a leadership responsibility topic. In this presentation, I will focus on 3 questions. First, where AI creates real cybersecurity and governance risk every day in everyday business use cases. What the practical AI governance model looks like in a modern organization, and how CISOs use AI to strengthen security operations, compliance, and decision making. My main message is simple. AI should not be blocked. AI should not be trusted blindly. AI must be governed. The main idea is very simple. The real question is control. Organizations often think that AI adoption starts with the licenses, when a license is purchased, or a pilot is launched, or a project is officially approved. In reality, AI adoption often starts much earlier. Someone uses a public AI tool to improve an email. Someone uploads a document to get a summary. A developer uses AI to generate or review code. Marketing uses AI to prepare content. Finance or HR team starts in experimenting with automation. A vendor enables AI functionality in a platform the organization is already using. From a business perspective, that is understandable. People want to work faster. They want to reduce manual or repetitive work. They want better results in less time. But from a security and governance perspective, important questions appear immediately. Do we know which AI tools are being used? Do we know what data is being entered into those tools? Are those tools approved? Do we know who owns each AI use case? Can we prove to a customer, auditor, or a regulator that AI usage is controlled? This is where the gap between innovation and governance appears. Business teams move quickly. Technology becomes available very quickly. But policies, controls, data classification, access reviews, monitoring, and accountability models are often introduced later. And that gap is dangerous. Because when AI adoption moves faster than governance, the organization is not really implementing AI in a controlled way. It is experimenting with an unknown level of risk. So from a CISO perspective, the central question is not only what can AI do, the central question is how do we make AI usage visible, approved, controlled, and defensible. And this is the foundation for the rest of this discussion. AI is not just another tool for the security team. It changes the way security work is done. It accelerates analysis, it helps create summaries, it can support incident reviews, risk structuring, control mapping, policy drafting, management, reporting, and knowledge search across large volumes of documentation. These benefits are real. For CISOs and security teams, AI can save a significant amount of time. But at the same time, AI also changes team structure and the skills that the security professionals need. Traditionally, part of the development of junior security specialists happened through manual work, reviewing logs, triaging alerts, comparing documentation, preparing initial analysis, creating simple reports, and learning how to interpret technical signals. If these tasks are automated too quickly, we need to ask another question. How will junior specialists learn? How will they learn to distinguish between a correct conclusion and an answer that is simply written in a very confident way? That is why AI is not only a productivity topic, it is also a skills and competence topic. The SANS JIAC 2026 workforce research points clearly in this direction. Organizations are increasingly talking not only about shortages of people, but about skill gaps. In other words, the challenge is not only we need more people, very often the real challenge is we need the right skills in the right place. This is important for the CISO role. The task of the CISO is not only to introduce new technology, the task of the CISO is to ensure that the security function becomes stronger over time, not only faster. So when we talk about AI in security teams, the question is not only which processes can we automate, the question is also how do we preserve quality, accountability, skills, and the ability to make sound decisions. AI can be a very effective assistant, but it must not become an uncontrolled decision maker. When an organization starts using AI, the focus usually goes first to the benefits: faster work, better summaries, faster document analysis, automation, productivity, less manual work. And this is understandable. These benefits are real, but from a security perspective, governance perspective, there are at least 5 risks that organizations often underestimate. The first risk is shadow AI. This means that employees use AI tools without formal approval, without security assessment, and often without clear understanding of what data they are allowed or not allowed to use. At first, this may seem harmless. Someone pastes an email into a tool to improve the wording. Someone uploads a spreadsheet to get an analysis. Someone asks AI to summarize an internal document. But at some point, sensitive information can move outside the intended control boundaries. The second risk is data leakage. AI increases the speed and volume of data movement. Information can end up in prompts, file uploads, integrations, browser extensions, third-party platforms, and automated workflows. Without clear rules and controls, the organization can lose visibility over where its data is actually being used. The third risk is permission oversharing. This is especially relevant to the context of Copilot and similar tools. AI often works on top of existing permissions. If a user has access to a document, AI can help that user find, summarize, and use the document much more efficiently than before. So AI does not always create a new access problem, but it makes the existing access problem much more visible and much more dangerous. If SharePoint sites are too open, if access permissions have not been reviewed, if data classification is weak, AI will amplify that weakness. The fourth risk is false confidence. AI-generated answers often look very good. They are structured, confident, and professional. This is exactly what makes them risky. A person can receive an answer that sounds correct and act on it without verifying the conclusion. In security, compliance, and risk management, this can lead to wrong decisions, incomplete control conclusions, or incorrect technical actions. So my practical recommendation is simple. Treat AI-generated output like the work of a junior analyst. It can be useful, fast, and very valuable starting point, but it is not automatically a trusted final decision. The fifth risk is accountability gaps. Who approves AI use cases? Who assesses the risks? Who decides what data may be used? What documents the controls? Who monitors the usage? And who is accountable when a customer, auditor, or regulator asks questions? If these questions are not answered, AI adoption becomes an uncontrolled change. And the key message here is this: AI adoption does not create all weaknesses from zero. It exposes and scales the weaknesses that already exist. One of the most important points in my presentation is this: many AI security problems are actually data governance problems. Organizations often ask, are we ready for Copilot? Are we ready to use AI more broadly? But underneath that question is another question. Are our data, access permissions, and controls mature enough for AI to use them safely? If access permissions are too broad, AI increases the risk that data becomes available to a much wider audience than originally intended. If data is poorly classified, AI increases the risk of misuse. If DLP is weak, AI increases the likelihood of a data leakage. If ownership is unclear, accountability breaks down. If there is no monitoring, governance becomes guesswork. This is especially relevant in Microsoft 365 environments, where many organizations have accumulated broad SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive permissions over time. Some of these permissions may seem acceptable in the past, but because a person still had to know where a specific document was located. But AI changes that situation. It can help users find, summarize, and connect information much more effectively. This is why overly broad access becomes a much bigger problem than before. This does not mean that AI is bad. It means that AI makes security fundamentals even more important. If an organization wants to use AI safely, it needs to get the basics right. Identity and access management, data classifications, sensitive data protection, DLP, logging, data ownership, access reviews, and incident response. In other words, AI readiness is often security maturity and data governance readiness. And before we expect the full value of AI, we need to make sure that the data, access permissions, and controls are ready for it. Earlier, we saw a practical Copilot implementation framework, how to assess readiness, configure the environment, implement the solution, and then monitor usage. Now I want to raise the topic one level higher to a general AI governance view from the CISO perspective. This applies not only to Copilot, but also to GPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, and other AI features in SaaS platforms, internal agents, compliance platforms, and other AI solutions. From a CISO perspective, the main question is not only can we technically implement this specific tool? The main question is, do we know what we allow, how we control it, and how we prove that it's being monitored? A practical AI governance model can be divided into 3 parts: decide, control, observe. The first layer is decide. Before an organization asks what AI can do, it must define what AI is allowed to do. What tools are approved, what data may be used, which use cases are acceptable, where is a human review mandatory, when should security, legal, risk management, or the data protection officer be involved, who owns each AI use case. This does not require a 60-page policy document that nobody reads. It requires a practical and enforceable policy. For example, are employees allowed to enter customer data into public AI tools? Are developers allowed to use AI code for generation? Can HR use AI for candidate screening? Can internal audit use AI to prepare control descriptions? If an AI feature is enabled in SaaS platform, is it automatically allowed, or does it require a review? These are practical questions. The policy must answer them in a practical way. The second layer is control. Policy without control is only intention. If an organization defines what is allowed, it must also be able to enforce it technically and organizationally. This includes identity, access management, data classification, DLP, conditional access, secure configuration, third-party risk assessment, and human approval points in sensitive processes. This layer can look different depending on the tool. In one case, it may be Microsoft 365 and data access controls. In other cases, it may be restricting or approving public AI tools. In other cases, it may be a vendor risk review if AI functionality is embedded in a SaaS platform. For public AI tools and SaaS usage, this can also involve CASB or broader SSC capabilities. For example, Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, Netscope, Zscaler, Palo Alto, or similar solutions. But the main point is not the specific logo. The main point is the ability to see shadow AI, control data flows, and apply DLP policies. Very often, this is the moment when organizations realize that the problem is not the AI tool itself. The problem is the maturity of the controls around it. The third layer is observe. The organization needs to know which AI tools are being used, who is using them, what data is involved, whether usage allows the policy, and where additional improvements are needed. Monitoring is not only needed for incident detection, it also needs for risk management, audit evidence, and continuous improvement. And again, the tools may differ. In a Microsoft environment, this may include audit logs and Activity Explorer. For public AI tools, it may include Proxy, CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker, DLP, Data Loss Prevention, or Endpoint Visibility. For SaaS platforms, it may include vendor reporting, configuration reviews, or contractual terms about data usage. So the key idea is simple. Without policy without control is intention. Controls without monitoring are assumption. And in AI governance, intentions or assumptions are not enough. Now let us briefly connect this to the EU AI Act. Many customers ask a very practical question. If we use Copilot, Gemini, Grok Cloud, or for everyday work, does the EU AI Act apply to us all? The short answer is yes, it may apply. But it does not mean that every normal office use case immediately requires a full high-risk AI compliance program. If a company uses a ready-made tool such as Microsoft Copilot, Claude, or ChatGPT, the company is usually not the model provider. provider obligations mostly apply to the organization providing the tool, for example, Microsoft, Anthropic, OpenAI, or another vendor. But the company is usually the deployer. The organization that uses the AI system in its operations, and that already creates practical responsibilities. It means that the company needs to know where AI is being used, which tools are being used, which departments use them, what data is entered, and whether AI only supports human or actually influences decision. So the practical question is not only are we using Copilot or ChatGPT, the practical for what purposes are we using it, with what data, and does AI influence a significant decision? From a practical perspective, an organization should start with 4 things. First, an AI usage inventory. Which tools are being used and which teams and for what purposes? Second, AI literacy. Employees need to understand hallucinations, incorrect sources, confidential information risks, personal data risks, copyright and trade secret risks, and the fact that final responsibility remains with the human. Third, a practical AI usage policy, not a 50-page legal document, but clear rules. What may be used, what must not be entered, which use cases require approval, and when human review is mandatory. Fourth, the classification of use cases by risk. Because AI to draft, using AI to draft an email is one thing, and using AI to screen job candidates or make decision about a customer's access to a service is something completely different. So my practical message would be this. The AI Act does not mean that every Copilot or ChatGPT user immediately needs a full high-risk compliance program, but it does mean that AI usage must be visible, understood, described in policy, classified by risk, and controlled with human accountability. Now a little bit about how CISOs use it in practice. We talk about a lot about risks, but it would be wrong to talk only about risks. AI can create very real value for CISOs and security teams. AI helps in risk analysis, control mapping, policy and procedure drafting, making compliance assessments and gap identification, and help to report these findings to the management, explain them in business language, and to summarize these technical findings and in large document sets to analyze. And you can make it do this work faster than by simply reviewing documents by reading them and not using AI. And communicate with the management and help to in this ownership of these findings and vulnerabilities and gap assessments. But the golden rule remains the same. Use AI to accelerate work, not to remove ownership or judgment. AI can prepare a draft, but human still makes this decision. One practical way create this is governance and compliance management. Requirements are sometimes tracked in Excels, evidence is stored in different folders, controls are described in different formats. And this is not sustainable, especially at the time where a number of these requirements are increasing. Organizations need to deal with ISO 27001, NIS, DORA, and security governance questions. And this is where AI-enabled governance and compliance platforms can make the work more structured. For example, platforms like we use Synomi help with these tasks, and everything stays in this one place, and you can govern it more easily and make faster decisions based on that information, because AI helps structure the work, but people still make the decisions. And from a customer perspective, this is very practical value. In the era of AI, this CISO matters because there are so many tools, many platforms, many futures. And very often the missing element is not technology. The missing element is security leadership capacity. Someone needs to connect business goals, security risks, compliance requirements, technical controls, and data governance and practical implementation plan. And virtual CISO can help an organization define its AI governance approach, identify priority risks, create practical policies, structure controls, prepare for Microsoft Copilot or similar AI solutions, coordinate security, legal, stakeholders, and build a realistic roadmap. So the final takeaway is this. First, AI is already inside the organization, whether it has been formally approved or not. You need to govern it and not ban it because someone will use it in a shadow AI manner. Second, AI creates productivity benefits, but it also amplifies governance weaknesses. So you need to get the basics right. Third, secure AI adoption is not only a security tooling question, it is policy controls, monitoring, and clear accountability. Fourth, the most successful organizations will not be the ones with the highest number of AI pilots. Those be the ones that have the clearest governance model and the ability to turn AI usage into controlled business capability. And fifth, AI should not be blocked, and it should not be trusted blindly. It can be a powerful business capability with clear ownership, appropriate controls, visibility, and measurable outcomes. So thank you for listening. And now Ivars, my colleague, will finish this presentation.
Thank you, Valters and Andris. From my mailbox, I already saw that there is interest to discuss, and similarly, I welcome others who want to go through these questions in more detailed level or speak about other topics. Contact your account manager, and we are here to help. And if you are new, and here is my email, or write it squalio@squalio.com, and we will support you. Thanks for your time, and have a lovely and sunny week. Thank you.